My in-laws refused to babysit unless I paid them $50/hour, then demanded I cover their vacation. I said no, so they posted on Facebook that I'm an ungrateful daughter-in-law. I replied with screenshots of every Venmo request they've ever sent me. My in-laws tried to charge me $50 an hour to watch their own grandkids, then demanded I fund their Hawaii trip. So I've been married for 6 years. 2 kids, ages 4 and 2. My husband works in tech and I'm a nurse. We both pull decent money, but we're not rich by any means. His parents live 20 minutes away and have been retired for 3 years. About 8 months ago, my mother-in-law called me. She said they wanted to spend more time with the kids. I was thrilled because my parents live across the country and childcare is expensive as hell. I thought this was going to be a normal grandparent thing. Wrong. She showed up at my house with a printed contract. An actual contract. It listed their rates for babysitting. $50 per hour per child. Minimum 4-hour blocks. Holiday rates were double. Overnight was $500 flat plus the hourly. I stared at this thing for a solid minute. Then I said, "You want me to pay you to spend time with your grandchildren?" She got all huffy. "We're on a fixed income. Our time is valuable. If you want quality care, you pay for it." I told her we'd just stick with our regular daycare. She acted like I'd slapped her. Started going on about how family should support family and how disappointed she was in me. I didn't back down though. But here's where it gets messy. My husband felt guilty. He started paying them without telling me. I found out 2 months later when I saw a Venmo request on his phone for $600. When I confronted him, he admitted he'd been paying them every week to watch the kids on Saturdays. I lost it. We got into the biggest fight of our marriage. I told him he was enabling his parents' ridiculous behavior. He said I was being ungrateful and they deserved to be compensated. We barely spoke for a week. Eventually we agreed to stop using them for childcare completely. I thought that was the end of it. Last month, his dad called. They wanted to go to Hawaii for their anniversary. 3 weeks, luxury resort, the whole 9 yards. The trip was going to cost them around $15,000. His dad said since we'd been depriving them of income by not using their babysitting services, we owed them. He actually said we owed them the money for the trip. I laughed. I couldn't help it. I said, "You're joking, right?" He wasn't joking. He said they'd calculated all the money they should have earned from watching the kids and we owed them at least $12,000. The vacation was their compromise. I told him absolutely not. My husband agreed with me this time, thank God. We said no. His parents lost their minds. His mom started calling me multiple times a day. Leaving voicemails about how selfish I was. How they'd sacrificed so much for my husband growing up and this is how we repay them. I blocked them on my phone. Then 2 weeks ago, his mom made a Facebook post. She tagged me, my husband, and about 50 other people. The post said I was an ungrateful, selfish daughter-in-law who refused to help my elderly in-laws. That I was keeping their grandchildren away from them out of spite. That they'd offered to help with childcare out of the goodness of their hearts and I'd thrown it back in their faces. The comments were brutal. People I barely knew were calling me horrible. Family members were messaging my husband asking what was wrong with me. His cousin called me a gold digger. I was done. I went through every single Venmo and PayPal transaction from the past 8 months. Every request they'd sent. Babysitting charges. A request for $200 because we'd stayed at their house for Christmas and used utilities. A $75 charge for a birthday dinner they'd hosted for my son. $40 for gas money after they'd driven to our house. It went on and on. I took screenshots of everything. Then I made my own Facebook post. I didn't say much. Just wrote, "Since we're airing family business publicly now, here's some context." Then I posted every single screenshot. The response was immediate. People started commenting things like they charged you for Christmas? And that's insane. My husband's aunt called his mom and apparently tore into her. Several family members apologized to me privately. My mother-in-law called my husband sobbing. She said I'd humiliated her. That I destroyed her reputation. She demanded I take the post down. I refused. My father-in-law sent me a message saying I was vindictive and cruel. That they were just trying to protect their retirement and I'd made them look like monsters. I didn't respond. My husband is torn. He agrees they were wrong but thinks I went too far by making it public. He says I should have just let it die down. But I'm so tired of being painted as the bad guy when I've done nothing wrong. They're still posting vague things about being betrayed by family. They haven't apologized. They're acting like they're the victims here. So did I cross a line by exposing them like that? So my Facebook post blew up way bigger than I expected and now I'm dealing with a mess I didn't see coming. The post got shared over 200 times. People screenshot it and sent it to other family members who weren't even on my friends list. My mother-in-law's church group saw it. Her book club saw it. Apparently half the neighborhood saw it because someone printed it out and brought it to their HOA meeting as an example of family drama getting out of hand. My phone has been going off nonstop. But here's the thing. It's not all supportive messages. My husband's brother called 3 days after I posted. He was pissed. He said I'd made the whole family look bad and that I should have handled it privately. I told him I tried handling it privately for months and his parents put me on blast first. He said that was different because they were hurt and acting out of emotion. I asked him how that logic made any sense. He hung up on me. Then my husband's sister showed up at our house unannounced. She brought her husband. They both sat in my living room and lectured me for an hour about family loyalty. She kept saying, "They're old, they don't understand social media. You're young, you should know better." I finally snapped. I said, "They understood it well enough to tag 50 people in a post calling me selfish. They understood it well enough to answer every comment agreeing with them. Don't act like they're helpless." Her husband jumped in then. He said their parents had always been generous with them and maybe my husband and I just didn't appreciate what we had. I laughed. I actually laughed in his face. I said, "Have they ever charged you $50 an hour to see your kids?" She got quiet. Then she admitted they'd never offered to babysit for them. Not once. That's when I realized something. We were the only ones they pulled this crap with. My husband's siblings had never dealt with any of it because his parents never offered to help them. After they left, I asked my husband about it. He got defensive at first. Then he admitted his parents had always treated him differently because he made more money. They saw him as the successful one who should take care of them. I felt sick. But it got worse. His mom started a group chat with all the grandkids' parents. My sister-in-law, brother-in-law, me, and my husband. She sent this long message about how family should stick together and how she and my father-in-law were reassessing their relationships with all of us. Nobody responded for hours. Then my brother-in-law's wife sent a message. She said she supported us and that she'd always thought the babysitting rates were weird. My sister-in-law immediately responded defending her parents. The group chat turned into a war zone. My husband asked me to leave the group chat. I did. But the damage was done. His whole family is split now. Half of them think his parents were wrong. The other half think I'm a troublemaker who aired dirty laundry for revenge. The worst part is my mother-in-law won't stop. She made a second Facebook post last week. She didn't mention me by name this time, but it was obviously about me. She wrote about how some people value money over relationships and how certain daughters-in-law have destroyed her family. I didn't respond. I'm not taking the bait again. But then yesterday, my father-in-law did something that made my blood run cold. He showed up at my work. At the hospital where I work as a nurse. He waited in the lobby until my shift ended. When I walked out and saw him, my stomach dropped. He didn't look angry. He looked sad. That somehow made it worse. He said, "We need to talk." I told him he needed to leave. He said he just wanted 5 minutes. I said no. He started following me to my car. I stopped walking and turned around. I said, "If you don't leave right now, I'm calling security." He held up his hands. He said, "I'm not trying to scare you. I just want you to understand. We're not bad people. We're just trying to survive." I felt something crack inside me. I said, "You're retired with a paid-off house and 2 pensions. You're not surviving. You're just greedy." His face changed. The sad expression dropped. He said, "You've always thought you were better than us. You've poisoned my son against his own family." I walked away. I didn't run, but I walked fast. He didn't follow me, but I heard him yell, "This isn't over." I sat in my car shaking for 20 minutes before I could drive home. When I told my husband, he finally got angry at his dad. He called him immediately and told him if he ever showed up at my work again, we'd be filing harassment charges. His dad denied trying to intimidate me. Said he was just trying to have an honest conversation. My husband didn't buy it. Now my husband wants to go no contact with his parents. But I can see the guilt eating at him. He keeps checking his phone like he's waiting for them to apologize. They haven't. They won't. And I'm still getting messages from family members telling me I should be the bigger person and apologize first. That I started this by posting those screenshots. That his parents are old and set in their ways and I should just forgive them. But why should I apologize for defending myself? My father-in-law tried to sue us. I'm not kidding. He actually filed a lawsuit claiming we owe him for services rendered in emotional distress. The amount he's suing for is $18,000. We got served papers 3 days ago. My husband opened the envelope at breakfast and just stared at it. Then he handed it to me without saying anything. I read through it twice because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The lawsuit claims they provided childcare services under an verbal agreement. It says we accepted their care multiple times, which constitutes acceptance of their terms. It also claims my Facebook post defamed them and caused reputational damage. I started laughing. Not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. My husband didn't laugh. He looked like he was going to be sick. He called his dad immediately. Put him on speaker. His dad answered on the first ring like he'd been waiting for the call. My husband said, "What the hell is this?" His dad's voice was calm. Too calm. He said, "It's a legal matter now. My lawyer advised me that we have a case." My husband said, "You're suing your own son?" His dad said, "I'm suing both of you. You've left us no choice. We spent our retirement funds helping you and you've refused to compensate us fairly." I grabbed the phone. I said, "You charged us $50 an hour. We paid you thousands of dollars. What more do you want?" He said, "The full amount we're owed. Plus damages for what you did to our reputation." I hung up. My husband sat at the table for an hour without moving. I had to leave for work, but I didn't want to go. When I got home that night, he was still sitting there. The papers were spread out in front of him. He finally said, "I can't believe they actually did this." We hired a lawyer the next day. She's confident the case will get thrown out. She said verbal contracts for family babysitting aren't enforceable, especially when we have proof we already paid them. The defamation claim is even weaker because truth is a defense and I posted actual screenshots. But it's still costing us money. The consultation alone was $400. If this goes to court, we're looking at thousands in legal fees even if we win. I'm so angry I can barely sleep. My husband is worse. He's not eating properly. He's not talking to anyone. He took 3 days off work because he couldn't focus. His sister called yesterday. She was crying. She said, "You need to drop the Facebook post and apologize." "Dad will drop the lawsuit if you do," I said. "He's the one who sued us." "Why would I apologize?" She said, "Because this is tearing the family apart. Mom's on antidepressants now. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. You're killing them." I felt something snap. I said, "They filed a lawsuit against their own son. They showed up at my workplace to intimidate me. They charged us money to see their grandkids. And somehow I'm the one killing them?" She started yelling then. She said I was selfish and cruel and that I'd always been jealous of how close my husband was with his family. I hung up on her too. But here's what really got me. 2 days ago, my mother-in-law sent a message to my mom. My mom, who lives across the country and has nothing to do with any of this. She sent her a long message about what a terrible daughter-in-law I am and how I've poisoned her son against them. My mom called me confused. She'd never even met my in-laws in person. They'd only talked on the phone maybe twice. My mom said the message was unhinged and she wasn't going to respond. I told my husband. He finally broke down. Like actually broke down crying at the kitchen table. He said, "I don't even know who they are anymore." I held him but I didn't know what to say. Because I've been asking myself the same question. Were they always like this and we just didn't see it? Or did something change? Our lawyer sent a response to the lawsuit yesterday. She attached copies of all the Venmo transactions showing we'd already paid them thousands of dollars. She included a counterclaim for harassment and frivolous litigation. My father-in-law called my husband after he got served with our response. My husband didn't answer. He called 6 more times. Then he left a voicemail. I listened to it with my husband. His dad's voice was shaking. He said, "You're really going to let your wife destroy this family? You're going to choose her over your own parents?" My husband deleted it. But late that night, he said something that scared me. He said, "What if they're right? What if I am choosing you over them?" I stared at him. I said, "They sued us. They're the ones who made it a choice," he said, "but they're still my parents." I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about what he said. About whether he resents me for all of this. About whether his family has finally succeeded in making me the villain. This morning, my sister-in-law posted something on Facebook. It said, "Some people care more about being right than about family. Praying for healing." I know it's about me. Everyone knows it's about me. My husband saw it too. He didn't say anything but I watched his face while he read it. He looked exhausted. I don't know what happens if we win the lawsuit. I don't know what happens if we lose. But I know this has changed everything between us. My husband keeps saying he supports me, but I can see the doubt in his eyes. And I keep wondering if his parents planned this all along. If they knew exactly what they were doing when they filed that lawsuit. Because it's not really about the money anymore. It's about making me the person who destroyed their family. The lawsuit got dismissed. Our lawyer filed a motion to dismiss and the judge granted it last week. Took one hearing. The judge looked at the evidence, looked at my father-in-law's lawyer, and said the case had no merit. He said family babysitting arrangements don't constitute enforceable contracts and that we had proof of payment anyway. The defamation claim got tossed because I posted true information. My father-in-law's lawyer tried to argue. The judge cut him off. He said something like, "Counsel, this is a waste of the court's time." Motion granted. It was over in 15 minutes. My husband and I sat in the parking lot afterward. Neither of us knew what to say. We'd spent 6 weeks stressed about this lawsuit. We'd paid our lawyer almost $3,000. We'd barely slept. And it ended in 15 minutes. I thought I'd feel relieved. I didn't. I just felt empty. My husband called his dad that afternoon. I listened on speaker. His dad answered but didn't say anything at first. My husband said, "It's done. The case got dismissed." His dad said, "We'll appeal." My husband said, "No, you won't. Your lawyer told you it's over." I was standing right there. Silence. Then his dad said, "So that's it? You're just going to let her win?" My husband's voice changed. He said, "She didn't win. We all lost. You made sure of that when you decided to sue your own son." His dad started to say something but my husband hung up. Then he blocked his parents' numbers. Both of them. He blocked his sister too. He sat on the couch staring at his phone for an hour after that. I asked him if he was okay. He said, "I don't know. That was 3 weeks ago." We haven't heard from his parents since. His brother called once to tell us his mom was in the hospital. Panic attack, not anything serious. He said it was our fault for causing so much stress. My husband told him that was unfair and his brother said maybe we should think about that. My husband didn't call to check on her. I watched him almost do it a dozen times. He'd pick up his phone, stare at it, then put it back down. Last week his sister sent him a letter. An actual letter in the mail. It was 4 pages long. I read it over his shoulder. She wrote about how their parents sacrificed everything to raise them. How they'd gone without so their kids could have more. How my husband was throwing all of that away for someone who didn't even care about family. She wrote that their mom cries every night. That their dad barely eats. That they're both falling apart because their son chose his wife over them. She said if anything happened to them, my husband would have to live with that guilt forever. The letter ended with, "It's not too late to fix this. But she has to apologize first." My husband read it 3 times. Then he tore it up and threw it away. But that night he said, "What if she's right? What if something happens to them and I never got to say goodbye?" I didn't know how to answer that. Because part of me was scared of the same thing. Not that I cared about his parents. But that my husband would blame me if something happened. I finally said, "They're the ones who sued us. They're the ones who showed up at my work. They made these choices," he said, "I know. But they're still my parents." We had the same conversation 3 more times over the next week. Each time I could see him getting more torn up about it. He stopped sleeping well again. Started getting quiet and distant. Then last Friday, something shifted. We were having dinner and his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered it without thinking. It was his mom. She must have called from someone else's phone. Her voice came through the speaker before he could hang up. She said, "Please, just listen." He should have hung up. But he didn't. She started crying. She said, "I miss my son. I miss my grandchildren. Please come home." My husband's face did something I'd never seen before. He looked at the phone, then at me, then back at the phone. He said, "You sued me, Mom. You tried to sue your own son," she said. "That was your father's idea. I never wanted that. I just wanted you to understand how much you've hurt us." I grabbed the phone. I said, "You charged us $50 an hour to see your grandkids. You demanded $15,000 for a vacation. You posted on Facebook calling me terrible. You sent messages to my mother. Don't act like you're innocent in this." She went quiet. Then she said, "You've turned my son against me." I said, "No. You did that yourself." I hung up. My husband looked at me. For a second I thought he was going to be angry. But then he said, "Thank you." That was the moment things actually changed. The next day he wrote an email to his whole family. He didn't show it to me first, but he read it to me after he sent it. He wrote that he loved his parents but that their behavior over the past year had been unacceptable. He wrote that they treated us like ATMs instead of family. He wrote that the lawsuit was the final straw and that he needed space from all of them. He said he wasn't cutting them off forever but that he needed time. He said if they wanted a relationship in the future, they needed to genuinely apologize and accept that their behavior was wrong. Not just to him, but to me. He ended it by saying he was tired of being caught in the middle and that he'd chosen to prioritize his wife and kids. He said that's what adults do. His sister responded within an hour. She said he was making a huge mistake and that he'd regret this. His brother didn't respond at all. His aunt, the one who'd supported us from the beginning, sent a message saying she was proud of him. His parents didn't respond for 3 days. Then his dad sent a 1-line email. It said, "We'll be here when you come to your senses." That was 2 weeks ago. My husband's been different since then. Lighter somehow. He laughs more. He's sleeping better. Last night we were watching TV and he said, "I feel like I can breathe again." I asked him if he missed them. He said, yeah. But I don't miss how they made me feel. We took the kids to the park yesterday. It was the first time in months that we'd done something normal without the weight of all this hanging over us. My son asked why we don't see Grandma and Grandpa anymore. My husband said, sometimes grown-ups need space from each other. Maybe someday, but not right now. My son accepted that and went back to playing. I don't know if my husband's parents will ever apologize. Honestly, I don't think they will. They're too convinced they're the victims in this. But that's not our problem anymore. Last week I took down the Facebook post. Not because anyone asked me to. But because I didn't need it anymore. The people who mattered knew the truth. The people who didn't believe me weren't worth my energy. My mother-in-law's Facebook is still full of vague posts about betrayal and ungrateful children. I don't look anymore. I blocked her months ago. My husband asked me yesterday if I regretted any of it. If I wished I'd handled things differently. I thought about it for a while. Then I said, no. I'd do it all again. Because here's what I've learned. Some people will always find a way to make themselves the victim. They'll twist every situation until they're the wrong party. And you can't win against people like that. You can only protect yourself and the people you love. My husband's parents wanted money and control. When they didn't get it, they tried to destroy us. They sued their own son. They harassed me at work. They turned family members against us. All because we wouldn't fund their retirement and pay them to spend time with their grandkids. And somehow they still think they're the good guys in this story. But we're done trying to make them see reason. We're done being manipulated. We're done feeling guilty for having boundaries. My husband said something last night that stuck with me. He said, I spent my whole life trying to make them happy. And it was never enough. It was never going to be enough. He's right. Some people can't be satisfied. And that's on them, not us. So this is where we are. No contact with his parents. Limited contact with most of his family. Our marriage stronger than it's been in years. Our kids happy and cared for. Our boundaries firmly in place. Is it sad? Yeah. It's sad that it came to this. But it's also freeing. We're building our own family now. One that doesn't come with a price tag.